All right, boys and girls, ladies and germs, I think it's time for me to do another video, mainly because I want to break this deck apart. And I want to make sure I remember it because I've had a lot of fun with this little guy. Shirei, Shizo's Caretaker. 1 black, 4 generic for a 2/2 legendary creature spirit. Okay, well, that's a soft little body and he's easy to get rid of. Why play him? Well, what does it say here? Let me see if I can focus. Whenever a creature with power 1 or less is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step if Shirei is still on the battlefield. So, there's conditions for him to be on the battlefield, and I haven't put too many in this deck to keep him around. Once a loop gets going, it can get problematic. And the deck's got 2 different win cons. And I don't mind if he gets targeted. And people really don't pay attention to him until they start seeing the loop, and then they're like, okay, let's get rid of him. Now he's 5 mana, so it's 7 to cast and 9, then 11 or whatever. He gets expensive, so the more he gets removed, I would say after the second time, you better time him appropriately so that you're winning the game or in a position to win the game, because he's going to get expensive on you. But nonetheless, he's tons of fun. So let's go through the deck. Don't worry about these cards just yet. What do we got here? We got 26 lands and, 30 lands in altogether, 26 basic swamps, and then 4 non-basics. Most of this deck, forget Karn. Most of this deck is a very low mana curve, so I don't run too many lands, nor do I run too many rocks. I run 2, by the way. I run, for these non-basics, Volrath Stronghold, because you want to be able to recur creatures, Phyrexian Tower as a sack outlet and get in some mana fixing there, and then Cabal Coffers and Urborg, because who doesn't like to play those cards? They're fantastic lands in mono black. There's Throne of Eldraine lands that you can consider for here. Certainly you can change this up. I just whipped it together fairly easily and quickly. 1 Planeswalker, because Karn, who doesn't like a Karn? He controls the board and hands, so he's in there. You can certainly maybe do a Liliana if you liked. I just wanted another piece of control in the deck, so I went there. Here's my spells, not too many. Village Rites, because at instant speed I can sack a creature to draw 2 cards. Dark Ritual to, ramp out my general if I needed to, or for other things. Yawgmoth's Will, because who doesn't like to play cards from their graveyard again? By the way, this one's an old, beat up, well-loved card. That's nice. Mind Twist, because you know what? Let's just take cards out of our opponent's hands. Free kill spells, Sweeper, Toxic Deluge there. And then 4 tutors. Imperial Seal, Vampiric Tutor, Demonic Tutor, and Diabolic Intent. I like this one in this deck because I want to be sacking creatures. I want to be killing my creatures. So those are my spells. Not many. We'll go to my enchantments. Again, not many of those either, but they're all pretty decent. You have a Bitter Blossom, because tokens to sack to things like Attrition. Sacrifice creature, destroy target non-black creature. Non-black is, a bit of a handicap for this card, but it doesn't matter. It's still well worth the spot. Necropotence, because you like to draw cards. Contamination. Now, here's a card I recommend people play softly. Don't be too quick to play this, because this is the Black Iona. Really, if your opponents aren't playing black, they're going to be handicapped by this card, and they're not going to like you. They're going to come after you, and they're going to try to kill you. So if you're going to play this card, play it at a time where you're trying to either slow the game down because you're just being outpaced, or you're about to win and you want to kind of make sure you have clear sails ahead before your win condition. So be careful with contamination. You'll be the bane of the table when this card is played, believe me. Phyrexian Reclamation, to bring creatures back from the yard. Grave Pact, because when I sacrifice creatures, and I do like to, you get to 2, right? Like, it's only fair. If I lose creatures, you lose creatures. And then Leyline of the Void, which is one of my win cons. This artifact that has tons of glare on it is a Helm of Obedience that I pair with this. Now, this is not, it's a 2-card combo. It's not infinite. You know, you have to target somebody. So these have to be resolved. And then you can target one player with this. I like this one better than some of the other infinite combos just because it allows for your opponents to interact. There's plenty of opportunity when the spell's on the stack, when it's on the board, you split second this, you know, so there's ways to interact this. And you can't kill like the whole table in one shot. You have to wait to end a turn, maybe kill one person, then 2, and then worry about the last person, assuming it's a 4-player game, right? So that's a win con. 2 cards. Why not? And then my artifacts over here. 2 mana rocks, because why not? Just in case. I have 2 sack outlets. Ashnod's Altar, Phyrexian Altar, just to sack my creatures. Sorry, I have 3 technically. Witch's Oven, which is another kind of infinite loop with the cat. I forget the name of the cat, but I'll remember. That's good to have. Skull Clamp, draw cards, filter the top of your deck, give Shirei protection, bring any card back. O-Stone, because you know what? You need board correction. Your creatures are all small. There's a few that aren't, but most of them are all 1-powered. And the board states could get overwhelming. You need a way to correct it. So O-Stone is definitely a way to do that. Bolas' Citadel, because, hey, this thing's busted. Pay life and play cards from the top of your deck. Hello, McFly. That's a good card to be running in a mono black deck. And then Battle Skull to offset some life gain, or life loss, I should say. You do have Necropotence as well. So you're going to be losing some life with this deck. So you want a way to generate that back. And the rest of these cards are my creatures. The majority of the deck is just creatures. And the reason I like this deck so much before I show you what they are is because I'm resolving creatures often enough. And, oh, by the way, look at that. That's nice. Have a creature out, sack it, get a token to gain life later, and you get to sacrifice a creature too, right? Wonderful. Anyways, you're playing a lot of small creatures. People don't really pay attention until you start to get to some loops, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I'll show you those in a second. This suite of creatures here, except for these 2 here, which is my other win con, these are the non-small creatures. There's not many of them, but I'll go through them. Ayara, because you know what, she likes to sack creatures. You also get gain life. Opponents lose life. You get to draw a card when you kill a creature. Let's double your mana with a Crypt Ghast. Harvest the Soul, because when your creatures or anybody else's die, you get to draw cards. Sadistic Hypnotist, because you know what, it is a sack outlet bonus. It also forces your opponents to discard 2 cards. Yes, it's sorcery speed, okay. But still, if you have, let's say, Bitter Blossom out producing tokens every turn, discard 2, discard 2. If your opponents don't have draw engines, this could really put them behind. Wonderful card. Erebos, because indestructible, opponents can't gain life, and I get to draw some cards. Grey Merchant of Asphodel. If you don't know what this card does, shame on you, look it up. Sidisi, Undead Vizier. This is great because it sacks a creature when it comes into play. It never sacks itself. I mean, 4/6 death touch is nothing to joke about. It's a great aggressive attacker or blocker. Doesn't fly, yeah, I know, but whatever. It gets to tutor a card as well. Krav gets to sack creatures. I think gain life and put counters on him is not bad, and draw cards. That's cool. And Mind Slicer, because when I Witch's Oven this guy, we all discard our hands. That's okay. I don't mind having no cards in my hand, especially if I get a loop going. And then my win con is Mikaeus Triskelion. Now this is an infinite loop if it resolves and it's not interacted with. Even still, if someone targets this, you can start the loop. Again, split second answers this. I think, yeah, there's two cards that I can think of, a black and a green, that can answer this. So it can be interacted with, but it's a way to win, right? This I'd like to try to go for if I'm at a spot where it's my turn coming up and my opponents are tapped out. That's wonderful. Okay, small ball here. These are all my small guys. I'll go through them quickly, maybe make a few comments on loops. Blood Artist, Blood Pet. Here, let's look at this loop. Assuming Shirei's in play, end of my turn, I'll sack this. It goes to the yard momentarily. You can't see it right now. I gain a life, you lose a life. At the end of the turn, it comes back. And then at the end of your turn, I repeat the process. It's a 4 life loss and 4 life gain in a turn cycle if I'm playing 4 players. So that's not bad, right? Piper of the Swarm, he makes tokens and he can take control of creatures. Coffin Queen, because if you're sacking creatures, I can get them back. Secret Squire, because why not? Mana Ramp in black. Again, Mana Ramp with the Pilgrim's Eye, go get a land. The Healer here, again, when it comes into play, you lose a life. I gain a life again if I can sack. That's not bad. This Weaponcraft Enthusiast, I think it's, yeah, Enthusiast, whatever. He creates tokens for you. So he comes in, creates 2 tokens. 1/1 Fabricate is 2 colorless serval tokens. So they don't fly, but still, it's 2 creatures. Again, you can sack if you have sack outlet like this guy. Viscera. Tokens don't come back, but he does. Makes more tokens. These guys are great because they get to look at your hand. Mesmeric Fiend, Brain Maggot, and Kitesail Freebooter. You get to see what your opponent has, so that before you go for a win combo, you can see, make sure the coast is clear, and you can share information with the rest of the table. This guy, Cabal Therapist, because when I play this guy and the Cabal Therapist, I get to see what's in your hand. I'll sack him, naming whatever card bothers me the most, and he'll come back in and take another one away at the end of the turn, obviously. And obviously, Shirei has to stick around, right? Certainly, this is not one of those decks. It's like, here, I resolve these 3 cards, and I'm going to win completely, except for Micaeus and Triskelion. Can't go wrong with Mike and Trike. Hex Parasite, because this thing likes to kill Planeswalker. This thing likes to bring back artifacts. Abysmal Caretaker. Sorry, that was a Mirror Retriever. Abysmal Caretaker. Gatekeeper. Jesus. I don't know how to read. This guy says when he dies, sacrifice creature. Again, sack outlet. Viscera Seer, sack this. Sacrifice a creature, and it comes back at the end of the turn. Cauldron Familiar. There's the cat. This is a loop, albeit it's a slow loop. It's once each turn. Once each of your turns. I mean, if you have sack outlet, this can keep coming back with Shirei, like with a what was his name? Carrion Feeder. That's what I was thinking about. So there's a sack outlet that you can use to loop that. Bog Witch, because discard a card and you get 3 mana. That's not bad. That's not a bad cost, because you can recur your creatures, so I have no problems checking a creature that. Zulaport Cutthroat, because that's like a Blood Artist. You have the 2 of these guys out, and any kind of loop, and you're losing 2 life, gaining 2 life each turn, each cycle. Black Cat, discard a card. Heap Doll, this sacks itself to snipe a card out of a yard. This sacrifice creature for CMC equal to its mana cost. Fume Spitter. Oh, by the way, on this one, you don't need just you don't need Micaeus and Triskelion. Yes, this is I win, but you can also do 3 points of damage each cycle with Shirei. So at the end of the turn, I forget he's in play, but he's in play. I take 3 counters off, right? At the end of turn, sack him, get Carrion Feeder. End of turn, he comes back, 3 counters. And then on the next person's turn, rinse and repeat. And again, this deck, it kind of flies under the radar a little bit. But once you start cycling that, people get very wise to what you're doing. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. That's not cool. Let's deal with your stuff. And, you know, you have a Grave Pact in play, and guess what? Now you're hitting for 3, sacking a creature, you sack a creature, this comes back. It gets nutty. And any one of these cards individually is kind of not suspect. I mean, yes, Carrion Feeder's a known degenerate, and people will go after him. Yes, Grave Pact is another known degenerate that people don't like. And when I say degenerate, I don't mean busted or broken. It's just, it's aggravating when this is in play. Like, you constantly have to be mindful of this. So, anyways, I have a few more just quick creatures. Dusk Legion Zealot, Ravenous Rats, because why not discard a card? Or yeah, discards when it comes into play. I think it's random too. When Ravenous Rats come into play, target opponent discards a card from his or her hand. So this is not random. I think the other cat is when it dies. But so this one, just discard a card. This lose a life, gain, draw a card. And Crypt Rats is the last one, because that's a board wipe on a stick. I've used this many times. You know, and I like the way I like to play this card is in a follow-up to a board wipe, right? Like, you have this cog running, right, each turn, and people have enough, and they're like, okay, sweeper, let's get everything off the board, reset, no more permanents. Then I like to follow up with this and kind of leave that there to say, okay, if you're going to play creatures, there's a good chance I'll kill them with this Crypt Rats. Kind of slows it down and makes this a threat. Anyway, that's the deck. It's not a deck to say, oh, this is it. You want to play mono black, he's the guy. No. This is a deck if you kind of want to do some cool things and have things come in and out and do things and have people get, oh man, annoyed with, oh man, I gotta deal with that. All of a sudden, I didn't think it was a big deal, but it is. And can finish the game, you know, in a pinch as well. I mean, I do run 4 tutors, so there's always a good chance that I'll have one. Anyway, point of the matter is that this is a fun deck. Shirei's awesome. If you can find cool ways to bring creatures in and out and keep him around in a more permanent fashion, you can make him indestructible. I think there's some other things you can do. I find when I start focusing too much on that, the deck tends to suffer a little bit because I'm just trying to keep him alive rather than getting some sort of engine going. Anyways, I've had tons of fun with this deck. This is a deck I've built before. I'll build again. I'll put it away, and then maybe in a few years, after a few sets are released, I'll revisit him, see if there's any more fun toys we can add to Shirei. But for now, that's the deck, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have some new tech you want to share about how to make this better, you want to make fun of me for the way I built my deck, which is that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll talk to you soon. Ciao.